Good. All right. I think Mike is theoretically probably on his way, but we'll just go ahead and begin. So call the meeting to order at 6:33. And before we get started with our guests, we want to formally welcome Isabella for joining us here. She'll be our youth commissioner. So we're really glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Chime in whenever you feel. And then we have Sherry here. Do you want to hop up? Do you have something to say specifically?
Sherry, if you don't remember, a couple months ago, I came here. I'm the chair for the DEC, Downtown Estacada Commission. I reached out to you guys for logos for the celebrating city of Estacada. Just wanted to find out how that's going. And then also, Jerry had indicated that he was going to give information to you guys about the tree lighting ceremony. We wanted a logo for that as well. We wanted it to be Christmas Tree Capital of the Pacific Northwest, PNW. Julie Colton is the one of our committee members that is taking on the role of putting together the tree lighting ceremony. I have her name and number and her email address here, so you can reach out to her. We're already starting working on the tree lighting, so we'd like to get our logo sooner, as soon as possible, with ideas of whatever you guys come up with. And then I've got my name, my phone number, and my email address here for the celebrating City of Estacada logo. We want the year, because it'll be 120 years next April, May. But we want the number to be interchangeable throughout the years, and we want to be able to use it for all events and all, just have it. So I'm going to give this to Alex.
We'd love to reach out to Julie. I mean, Mike and I said we've been on the subcommittee and we haven't heard anything. So we would love to talk about that. We've been super busy this summer putting on Arts at the Creek and everything. So like creating logos is not something our commission, like we don't make logos.
Okay, so if you don't want to do it, just let us know. And this was based off the recommendation of Jerry.
I mean, we'd be happy if you guys wanted to put out if you wanted to put out a call, we could call to artists to submit it on our Facebook page or something like that.
Okay.
But I think in terms, if we could help you spread it and we could reach out to some people that we know and tell them to contact you, but I'm not sure it's in our realm to be logo creators or, right? I mean, do you guys chip?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that logo creation is a pretty specified or specific graphic design area. And so probably what you're looking for is a graphic designer, because then they can do the different types of files, a PNG file, like a shape vector file, that kind of thing. Yeah, we could definitely pass it along. But
yeah, we could pass along.
Perfect.
If you guys could just put together what you just said in a paragraph. This is what we're looking for, then we could reach out to some people that we know.
So I'm going to give Alex this.
Well, because we have a former commissioner who has done some graphic design for us. And I know that she's sort of, her employment situation is all over the place right now, but she might be able to take something on extra. So we could pass that on to her. If you could put that in a little blurb, that would be awesome.
Okay, so who do I need to send? Alex, would it be possible for you to send me an email so I know who I need to send it to? Perfect. Awesome. That's it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your help.
Yeah. And we'll be excited. I know Mike and I are excited to chat about the Christmas tree lighting. So.
Oh, just one more thing. We're actually going to be having a tree put in, and we're going to use the Harvest Market Square.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we're not going to use this tree anymore. Well, not anymore.
no offense to that.
Not this coming year.
Yes,
We're going to change it up.
I love it.
We're going to bring some business down Broadway. Santa will still be in here. Hot cocoa, candy canes, all of that will still be here. Just trying to drum up some business down Main Street and Broadway. So it'll start over there and then it'll move down here for Santa and all of that. So
love it. Cool. Well, I know Mike's excited about bringing some music to lead the charge down, so.
Yes, there's supposed to be a 3-piece horn section coming in to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, kind of like the Pied Piper.
Yeah. I love
And all
it.
of us little mice will follow down.
Very
Perfect.
cool.
Thank you
That's
so
fun.
much.
Yeah, the square hasn't been too utilized in recent years, so that's awesome. Great. Well, thank you. All right. And Ariella, Sophie, did you have something to add in and say? I have your event on my adding to our community updates, but please.
I don't think I have much. I just really wanted to thank you all for sharing that event and invite you all to it. I'm not sure if anything else will come up, but it might. All right, thank you then.
Great. And do we have Jerry online or anything? He's not here today? Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So we won't have the city liaison report. Do you want to go ahead and take a look at the July minutes?
We have another guest. Did you want to speak?
Oh, I figured she was here to support Isabella.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, she came with Isabella. Sorry, I didn't mean to gloss over you. I see you. All right, so let's take a look at the July minutes. All looks pretty good to me. This is all the stuff we need to rehash in a minute.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Anyone like to second it? I don't know if I'm allowed to since
I wasn't here, so I can't.
I'll second it.
All right. Minutes are approved. Oh, do I have to say aye? I'm terrible at this.
Oh my gosh.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm still learning. All right. And we take a look at our financial statements, which we are, we have lots of things that have gone through recently. Super excited that we are not super depleted after everything that happened this.
Yeah, we are, that looks really good. Oh, and Eagle Foundry did finally.
They did.
Awesome.
They just like randomly, Alex was like, oh, the Eagle Foundry came through. I was like, I didn't even know they were donating. Yeah, they came through.
Very cool.
Yeah. Better late than never.
Yeah, I think everything looks good.
Like,
Did
pretty
Chelsea
much-
get paid? Oh, she did. Okay, good.
Yep.
So we
Everybody's
have
been
a
paid.
balance of $5,180.63. And that's having paid all of
I
our
know.
expenses for Arts at the Creek.
Yeah,
So
that's like book is closed and that's what we were left with.
yeah,
I'm
that's
really, and
great.
we'll talk a little bit more about Arts at the Creek here when we like debrief it. But we broke even this year, which is like
Nice.
very exciting. So, and yeah, woohoo. Last year we were kind of hurting after it since it was our first year doing it. So mail and correspondence, I didn't get a chance to go in. I guess I was there. I don't think I checked the mail. It slowed. I did get an email from Ariella Sophie just earlier today about the Arts for Learning Northwest. So we'll connect with them and see what there is to say there to be continued. I've also had some correspondence and a meeting with some individuals in town about this grief and gratitude project. So I can update you guys a little bit about that a little later, but nothing major in the correspondence arena. So we'll just jump right to recent events. It's been a happening month. The summer passport's going awesome. I don't know how many you have left at the library. We've handed out over 250 passports that I know about.
You're almost out.
So that's another, what, 100? Because you probably printed more. So You have not printed more. Okay, so it's probably like 300. So that's pretty awesome. And those are like that have been taken, that have been handed out at summer concerts, that Yo Treats, I've restocked them, I think twice. They've slowed down a little bit. They still have some when I went today. And we got our first one turned in. So that was exciting. I just today went to Yo Treats and brought them my box of sunglasses and an envelope to put these all in. And just we have a little bit of feedback for doing this next year if we do it again next year. People are a little unclear about whether or not they need to do everything. So we were kind of vague, but I think it's fine. But I think for future, we could add a little more specificity and a specific date at which we want them to turn it back in. So that's like date and not needing to do all. People are so funny. They just want to do everything. Like, do we have to do? I'm like, no, it's just like a fun thing. But it's just, did you do one thing this summer you would have not done had you not had this on your fridge? Great. We'll call that great. So we'll have to do a Facebook post. I feel like mid to late August, we do a Facebook post and say, hope you've had a great summer. Thank you so much for engaging with this. You can turn it in at any time. We'll do the raffle in September. So don't you think like mid to late August, or we should just shoot for late August?
I think late August.
Let's say Labor Day.
Yeah.
Labor Day? Okay. Or maybe right before or right after, because people will be all over the place. I guess school will have started though, so.
I just figure if we say Labor Day, people will maybe remember it, whereas
Yeah.
if we give
Oh,
a
to
date,
turn
then
it
it
in
might,
after Labor Day?
Yeah.
Okay,
just Labor Day is the deadline.
yeah. Okay. Oh, Labor Day is the deadline. You have to turn it in before Labor Day?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I'm specifying. It's a teacher on summer brain, man. I'm not gonna not be held responsible for anything that does or does not happen this summer.
I thought
Okay.
it was clear. Maybe it wasn't.
Before, oh, it was pretty clear, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure it's just me. Okay, so I'll try to make a post like mid-August, like maybe next week. And then we'll say turn it in before Labor Day. And then we'll do our drawings. And on that, I've got 5 gift cards to Yo Treats. And then the Artsmith has given us 3 $10 gift cards.
And I have 3 boxes of the artist chalk and at least 2 boxes of regular chalk that we can put out.
Oh, hey, if we get them back before Labor Day, we can do the drawing at our next meeting.
Oh, there you go. That'd be fun. Get a little drum roll action. And then did you have any other luck with anybody else?
Not yet. No.
Okay, I do think that the we could and should buy a few more Artsmith gift certificates to give out. Mainly to support them and recognize that they donated and we want to, and she was awesome about it. I was in there to like mail a FedEx package and I was like, hey, since I'm here, and she just like wrote them on the spot. So I think if we like at least match those 3 maybe with like 30, does that sound good? Like another 3 or what do you guys think?
I think that sounds great. Yeah.
3 more? And on that note, this is not on my agenda, but it's in my brain and we're talking about the Artsmith. Is it okay? We talked about, we never did a thank you note for Vincent or Vince for doing everything he's done. Can we do a $50 gift certificate to the Artsmith for him instead of Spiral? We talked about doing that at a previous meeting as a thank you. We've done $50 for other commissioners as well, but usually it's to the Spiral Gallery. We thought Vince really wants art supplies, so it might be appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we were fundraising, I was in there too, and she seemed somewhat interested in commission.
I've had varied responses, but the lady I talked to when I went in this time was like very excited, very enthusiastic, like just wrote them right away. So it was exciting. Okay, so we'll do that before the next one. And I'll make sure I'll bring the card and the gift certificate for Vince to the next meeting and we can sign it and we'll drop it off. Okay. Great. Deborah, do you want to rehash the 4th of July parade? Talk about our
It was
revelations.
It was not too hot.
It was not.
It was very nice. Mike pulled in some helpers for us, which was wonderful. And we had the realization that we needed so much more chalk than what we had in packages. And I think it was Bev's idea to take it out of the packages.
Like
and we
3
will
blocks in.
Do that next
I love
year
it.
and just
Yeah,
hand out individual chalks because the kids were just as thrilled with an individual piece of chalk.
Well, we need to get the big boxes that you can open and dump.
Open and
not the
dump, yes,
plastic
not
ones you have
plastic
to
wrapped
undo.
and The horror of Michael's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. I think people got a big kick out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm
It was super
excited to
fun.
do that again next year for the parade.
Oh, lovely. Hi, Mike.
Hey guys, sorry about the mix up. I'm on my phone right now. I'm trying to get my desktop working here, so it's a little patchy.
No worries. So yeah, more chalk next year, unpackage it beforehand. But otherwise it was super fun. It was really fun to have a presence as a commission in the parade. It was fun to be by the library. We had our big art, Mike did awesome, like with the Arts at the Creek banner being up, and yeah, I thought it went really well. It was fun.
I feel like I've seen a lot more chalk art this year too. So it feels like the chalk walks maybe picked up a little bit in the last few years. I mean, I've seen random artwork just kind of like at the library and downtown. And so that's really nice to see too.
Yeah. Well, on that note, do you want to talk about the chalk workshop?
The chalk
No.
workshop was not super successful. We had, I think, 5 people show up for it. They kind of had fun. As is the case with moms bringing teenagers sometimes to do family community stuff that they don't really want to do. But Carl was great about it, did a beautiful drawing of a koi fish and showed some other like shading techniques and stuff. So it was really fun. I think people maybe didn't quite understand what it was going to be like. So not sure how to tinker that for next year, or if maybe just do something else instead.
Yeah.
So back when the chalk walk was a young idea, which really was like COVID happened and we couldn't gather. It came from when I was living in Oberlin, they had a chalk walk every year for Juneteenth, and all of the artists would come out on the day with their chalk and just do all of the squares kind of on a path. And so, I mean, we could consider now that we can gather again, like
Doing a day.
doing a day and picking a path where it actually can be kind of a walk.
Well, we did do
Um,
that. We in the past, we've hired the artists to do the
Mhm.
chalk blocks
Mhm.
downtown, but it would be fun to do like on a Saturday morning, be like,
Mhm.
come at this time to get chalk and like chalk up downtown and do it from here to
Mhm.
here.
Or the path like kind of around where the community room is at the library. There's a
Mhm.
lot of good space over there, or
Yeah.
somewhere that's got a little bit more runway.
So maybe next year, think about that a little bit.
Are there any festivals running in Wade Creek that we're not actually sponsoring or part of, that we could have this happen at the same time? To kind of piggyback on their
mean, there's-
attendance?
There's no other
You don't
big
know?
event that goes there. That's us. The
Maybe we
concerts
could get
at the
like
park.
Yeah, that's what I was
That would be
thinking.
good,
Some
yes.
music.
Yeah, a concert at the park would
Mhm.
be kind of a fun
Mhm.
one.
While they're doing that, we could have the.
That'd be
chalk
kind of
walk.
cool.
Time will be different next year, I think.
Of the concerts, yeah, the attendance is way lower this year.
So
They
the ne-
tried, but it's not successful. I noticed that because we went to like one concert and I was like, ooh, this is not what it was. Mm-hmm. Oh, bummer.
Is that because it's on a Sunday?
Well,
you
they did
think?
Sunday afternoon.
Last year, one year previous was on a Wednesday night, from like 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And we were kind of competing with Sandy, because Sandy does it on the same night. And so they wanted to move it, so it could, maybe we could both have the crowds, but it didn't go that way.
I think in the summer, like weekday evenings is a
Yeah.
great call.
Yeah.
Because people are just out and about on the weekends. And the afternoons are like the hot part of the day, and it's just. Yeah, but it would be cool. Maybe we could even do it a couple times, like do a partner thing with Parks and Rec, where concerts at the park and chalk walk, and do both of those things. Good thoughts for next year. And it's any opportunity to jump into their concerts, especially for the ones that come before Arts at the Creek, is a great opportunity for us to promote Arts at the Creek.
Mm-hmm.
It's So that's the next thing on our list. Obviously, all of us were there. Yay. I mean, we had almost our whole commission there. Alicia obviously was not. But I thought it went really well. I have I have gotten some feedback. Let me see if I can find it.
I did too, and I wrote it down on the piece of paper I had the day of, which is maybe in my car. I'll look for it.
Okay. We have lots of thoughts about it. Oh gosh, even more people since I last checked. Before I think about the actual feedback from, and I sent it out to everyone. So the feedback form went to vendors, volunteers, community organizations, like pretty much anyone that was involved, anyone whose email I had that was related to the event, I threw it out there. I've gotten 17 responses. Last year I got 4. So I'm already going to say like, that's a pretty huge increase in just response and engagement. Our financials are awesome. Like I said, we came out like, this is not including the grant if we're just talking about sponsorships. And this was before I even added the Eagle Foundry, which was how much? 500. So we came out like $900 in the positive. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. We sold a ton of t-shirts. The raffle was a huge success. We only have a couple people that haven't picked up their things. People were excited about it. We got several $100s from the raffle alone, which means we had at least, I think, over just by me trying to figure out how much cash versus that there was like at least $300 or something that was just from the raffle. And that's at $1 a ticket. So like, that was awesome and really exciting. Next year, we want to make sure that we ask community organizations to contribute to the raffle. Some of them did, and we just didn't even think about it. But like the MacGyver Rangers brought a Frisbee and Todos Juntos brought like a huge bag of like kids' art supplies. And the Philip Foster Farm, I think it was, brought the wood. Are they the ones that brought the wood blocks? I don't even know where those came from. I think so. So like just to promote the raffle more next year, that was a huge moneymaker for us. It was really low key for us to be able to fill out. Like when we were selling it, it was really easy. Lots of people were like, I have $5, I'll throw in 5 raffle tickets. So that was a really big success also. I want to like send a letter of thanks to the Timberlake Job Corps kids because wow. I mean, we were all there. They made like half of the feedback is just saying thank you for all the volunteer help.
Yeah, and I do want to say thank you specifically to Scott Johnson because he texted me
He's the one that reached out
earlier. He works there and used to be on the commission and said, hey, we want to volunteer. How do we do that? So big thanks to him for
huge
that
thanks.
going.
I mean, and those kids were awesome. They were hard workers. They were super respectful. They like did above and beyond. And I couldn't believe, we were done within like an hour. We were out and it was awesome. And vendors were hugely appreciative. So like most of the feedback is saying thank you for all of the volunteer work. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, it was really great seeing them help the vendors set up their booths, especially. That can be such a slog. And that could even be, if we can get them back, it's maybe a selling point for other vendors for the event, because that's a lot of help. I've done a lot of
some were like, yeah, like I went to go close the door to my car and I turned around and my canopy and my table was up.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So like we can make that happen. I really think vendors really appreciated being treated like that and being given all this extra support. It also like our check-in process, my highly obsessive compulsive lists all went well. We already talked about how we need to put that all on one page next year because I had like a few too many pieces moving around. But compared to last year where it was literally like catch someone wandering in from the parking lot and hope they get to their spot, it went really well.
Did the Job Corps kids get shirts?
I tried to give them shirts, but they literally volunteered like 4 days beforehand. And he was like, don't even worry about it. And I was like, we would really like next year. Like, I feel like we should do something to thank them. I don't know what that can be. Buy them some pizza or something. They were literally, that was a huge help. It was like 15 kids that came and helped us out. And it made the event really,
Yeah,
and we also had other
that
events.
too, because
Mike's
they were not
good.
only helpful, but they were sort of insistently helpful,
Mhm.
but just right. 'Cause
Yeah.
I said, oh, no, I can do this. And they said, oh, no, we'll do it, you know.
In the right way.
Yeah, and so even people who resist being helped like me,
Yeah.
they were just right of sort of saying, okay, we'll take care of this for you.
Well, I think maybe at the very least, we can, like, maybe at our next meeting, when I'm thinking more ahead, I can bring a card and we can just handwrite them a thank you.
I think Mike's got his hand up. I
Oh, is
forgot he
that
was
what
here.
this is? Hey, Mike.
Hey, yeah, I was thinking same kind of thing of just getting involved with their organization to maybe do some kind of a tandem art collaboration, or maybe we can brainstorm something that's like a creative donation back to that organization just because of how much assistance they gave us. I don't know what that means if we did some kind of like, you're welcome to come and do art with the commission, or you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
What
yeah, I
about,
don't know. I don't know. A mural, it sounds like a
what
kind of
about,
a huge kind of pain in the butt, but you know what I mean? Something we could brainstorm something to do for that.
what about a pizza party / tie-dye party? 'Cause
They
we
could
already,
tie-dye some shirts.
yeah, like
We
we
have
could,
enough shirts, like we made enough money that we could give them shirts.
we could just get the community room and find a time that works for them and get some pizza and
I could definitely shoot an email to Scott and ask.
cool.
But yeah, and then depending on what their schedule is, because my understanding is that those kids live upriver 40 miles and there's like 92 of them out there. So
Yeah, there's a bit of like they earn privileges to do things like this. So the kids that
Right.
came, they would come and the kids that came in the morning came and then they did all of that. And then they like went to the farmer's market and like made a whole day of it. And the
Right.
same with the kids in the afternoon. They came at like 3 or 3:30 and they came and like enjoyed the event for a while and then stuck around and helped out. But I know, Mike, they were also really thankful. They took all the popsicles and they were very excited about all the popsicles. So I'll email Scott and see, what we could do about that.
well, the
So-
popsicles came out of the DEI budget, so it's all going full circle.
Nice.
City
Well, that
wise.
worked out really well. So lots of positives. There are a couple things that I wouldn't say are negatives, but are like constructive for next year for sure. The food and drinks was a train wreck again. We need somebody that will really hunker down and get like more than just the bare minimum. We also had an issue with the Walks and Wings lady, didn't have her paperwork. Boba Blastic pulled out at the last minute due to like family stress. But like we need to have enough food vendors that 2 people dropping out doesn't break us. I also think that next year we might bring back like bottled water and Gatorade for $1. Like maybe we just do drinks. Because we had a lot of people just sort of flummoxed about that. So the food vendor situation was not great. We need to make that, and that's something that like, I would love somebody next year to take that on and do that like entirely and like really bulk that up. Because I think only having the few options we had was not great. And it made it harder for people to like stay for longer. The other couple things that came across the feedback form were the music being way too loud. So we need to figure something out. I mean, the vendors being there was awesome, but some people who are close there had a hard time talking over the music. So we had several people that complained about the music being a little too loud. And then we need to figure out some way. I mean, we're still in this like second year of figuring out how to utilize this park. We need to find a way to get people all the way through the vendors. So we need something like big, shiny, and fun at the very end, because a lot of people that were at the end of the vendors, like Todos Juntos had all these cool things and they were at the end. So people would just kind of look and then they would turn around and walk back. So we need to find some way to draw people through. And that's not really on us. It's the layout of the park is a little awkward, but we had sort of this big space down there. And I think having the vendors closer together worked really well, but we had lots of people to be like, oh, I was kind of at the end and, you know, people weren't coming all the way down there. So we need to figure out something that's really special and fun at the other end so that people are going back and forth between the music and whatever that thing is down there. Whether that's like Orchestra Kita comes or we have, you know,
An idea. It's not really art related, but
we need it to be shiny.
bouncy house.
Yeah, something like a bounce,
Like,
like,
cause
yeah.
you can't miss a bouncy house.
Yeah, Isabel.
Mhm.
What if you put the raffle tickets at the end? So that if like people wanted to buy the raffle tickets, they would have to go all the way through.
Well, that's good, except we really want people to buy the raffle tickets where they buy the tie-dye. It's complicated to have money in two places.
Deborah, I think you're in a, you hit on something, but to have a more kid-friendly area, kid
Well, that-
focused, kind of like a Disneyland, you know.
Well, last
You had the
minute I thought
bouncy
about
house,
yard
but
sales.
as we had that day for youth art,
Mhm.
remember? We could actually have that section there for youth and their art products.
We did that last year. It
Mhm.
did not go well. And we got lots of people not wanting the kids to be separate. A lot of the feedback was that the kids really enjoyed being in with all the other artists because it helped them feel more professional. I think they gained experience from other people. Last year, we did have them separate and then people just didn't go there. And then they were kind of like left in the corner. Wendy's
Yeah.
like, yes.
I do think that the spray paint wall was a big hit last
Mm.
year, even if it was with the kids who were stationed at the end, because my kid kept like wandering off and doing that.
Yeah, bring
When-
it back maybe.
Yeah, and we used to do like hand drying clay kind of stuff, like more like hands-on arts activities. So if we had like an arts and crafts area with a bouncy house, just like
Mhm.
a collection of activities on the end, even if it's
Well-
not the youth vendors necessarily. I mean, that takes volunteers, that takes.
But it also, the community, or another piece of the feedback was some of the community organizations felt like it wasn't clear to people walking by that whatever they were doing were free, because we kind of sprinkled everybody in
mhm.
together. So it could be we have youth and adult artists and then all the activities
I think-
are down there.
Yeah.
And then we smush them all together so it's clear that this is like activity area.
Yeah.
Because
Hey,
all the
Jesse.
people with families will get dragged down. Yeah.
I think that within the layout of the park and the unused space, having to try and when you try and congregate an audience around the amphitheater where the music is centered, even if there's 40 or 50 people sitting there on the concrete benches, it would take a lot of people to sort of fill that space. So I think that maybe one thing that we should do is we should move vendors and or community stuff over to the back side of the lawn, and use that. You know how there's the interior that's closest to the building that was relatively unused, and that would also create a little bit of a something to sort of absorb the sound a little bit so that it sounds more full and round, and we're not trying to like fill the empty space. Essentially, I think is what happened with some of the disproportionate volume. If people are really complaining about that, I for one don't think that, but that's good feedback if that's generally what people are thinking, is that it's too loud. I know we definitely got a little unbalanced because of how things were set up with the music on the other side of the building facing south, but I think that if we move the vendors over and really centralized all of this sort of, maybe we say that there's 40 spots and they're centralized around the building so that you're not sort of sending people down the path and then they lose interest or whatever else. And then we fill the parking lot or that front area that had the vendors this year, the fire truck and all that stuff. And we just fill that with, like you said, a bouncy house, food vendors. We could designate that whole asphalt area as like chalk art right there and just have everybody draw on the parking lot and sort of really start overlapping some of these things that are kind of dangling out there in space.
Yeah, I think
Because
there's just got to be some balance between putting people in front where the music is and then the music, right? Because if we put a bunch of people there, then we can't have we're gonna have to turn the music down because the people that so those complaints were coming from the vendors that were by the music. So even if we have a bunch of people there, we would still need to kind of take it down a notch, I think.
who was by the music? The people that were sort of hanging out on the west part of the.
Yeah, because there were vendors all along that line.
Okay, because the in that day of the vendor that complained was the little old lady on the corner because the speaker that was hanging out on the south side of the building was sort
She
of.
definitely didn't respond to the feedback. She had a lot of
Okay.
things to say about things. It wasn't
Yeah,
from her.
I mean,
I can look it up
those are
and
all
see.
those
I'd
are all
be curious.
adjustments that are easy to make.
Well, and if I
but-
look if I look more in depth, I haven't looked at like who said what in here, but I could
Mhm.
sort of see where they were in the map and that would be good information for next year.
Right.
I mean, I
Yeah,
can say
that's all
that
relative.
when I was along the side by the library that I found myself shouting, and then when the music stopped, I was like shouting. So I don't know if it was just echoing over there or what, but I definitely heard that from who was over there, the lavender people, the bee people,
Mhm.
Chelsea was over there.
Well, they were right in front of the speaker where we were taking
Yeah.
music that way. And
Yeah.
that was something we tried this year. We could
Mhm.
also not have that
Mhm.
speaker at all next year. That was something we tried because, you know, we're just tweaking all the things, right?
Mhm.
So we're trying to figure out where.
Well, do we also have access to the trailer that the city owns? Like, we could completely restructure and reposition everything and not use, because the
The
honest,
city
because
doesn't own the trailer anymore. It belongs to the
okay.
schools now.
The
Oh,
stage.
well, I bet
They
we
have the
could,
stage trailer.
Well,
we
that
could
that was
maybe
also crazy
work
expensive to
something.
rent. That
Well,
was gonna be a huge cost.
So what, Parks rented that several years ago and they were using that for performances, because that the whole overhang situation is not ideal for playing music under on the north side of the building. I mean, I know it looks cool and everything, but they have that metal backdrop that has an air gap in it and then that pitched roof. Like, once you put a drummer back there and you mic everything and he starts kicking that drum, the like kick drum, like the general feedback that we got from everybody who sits back there is like, oh, okay, it just sounds crazy and booming and echoey and it's hard. It's just weird acoustics. So, you know, if we could like make that sort of amphitheater area the center heartbeat of the vendors and then sort of reposition music, I don't know if that's just way too much of a pain in the butt.
I mean, I think we'll have to tweak things again next year. It's just sort of notes to ourselves for what we
Mhm.
can. We're limited by what the park is structured like, right? So we just have to
Right.
sort of figure out how to work it out.
Well,
But
and power sources too. You gotta
Mhm.
get power to whatever, and
yeah,
people don't wanna trip over things and.
but I know, on another thing for positives for vendors, the two vendors that I know a little better, just one is a friend and Doug Burbeck, who's the awesome earrings guy, like made twice as much as they did last year. So I know that for at least a handful of people, it was more successful for the vendors this year too, which is like, we really want to be pumping that up.
Two things that I thought were much better this year. One was having the tents in the music audience area,
That was,
and that kept people there because they could get into the shade.
mhm.
And then I was beyond that, and the fence between that and the parking lot or the storage, the rental space there. A lot of that fence was covered with slats and some decoration, and that made it look a lot better too. That we might want to look into having a sort of solid cover between the park and the
Whatever's happening on
storage
the other
area.
side.
The
Yeah.
storage area, yeah. Looked
Yeah.
like they're doing some work over there.
Yeah.
But those two things I thought really made it better, more useful, better use.
It was nice.
Better
to
use of
measure in
space.
that little corner too.
Yeah.
That was nice.
And there would have been room to put another row around the back there too without crowding the.
The problem is
music.
that in order to do that, it goes over the path, which is a bit of an
Yeah.
accessibility issue. So in order to do that, we would actually have to move it on the other side of the path, which means people would be walking like behind the booths.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
little wonky. I wish we'd had
Yeah, I
input
noticed
on
it.
the park before
One of-
it was made.
Yeah, and one of the food vendors was right in that corner too, so that would complicate it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just, from experience, it seemed like that there were more people going through in a more leisurely way, which I think might have contributed to the better sales.
Yeah.
That is,
We definitely had more people come.
yeah, last year it seemed like I saw the same people 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And this year I saw people once or twice,
Yeah.
and they had come and done things and gone on. So I think we had a
I think the
larger
parking-
turnout than before.
I think so too. I think the parking situation
Mhm.
was dramatically better this year. Like many thanks to Galani. I will also be
Yeah.
writing them a thank you note because they didn't have to do anything for that, but like that made it so much better. to have that. So we'll definitely like continue to ask them of that for sure. So yeah, I will, maybe for the next meeting or for our planning meeting, I can print out the feedback so everyone can actually look at it. It's all just in a form right now. I haven't, like 5 people have responded since I last looked at it. So, yeah, I will print it out so everyone can take a look at it, so we can talk about it for next year too. Let's just, sorry, I have like 5 things in my brain, but we'll come back to that. Let's really quickly talk about NaNoWriMo.
Oh, yep,
October.
yep, yep.
I put that on there because it's like, we don't have a lot happening, but we want to make sure
Yeah.
we at least have a date on the calendar. And we're here with Alex where we can,
Let's
if we
do
want a
it.
community room.
Community room would be great. Well, I'm going to the writing group at the library with Zach on the 16th, I think. And I was gonna ask him about NaNoWriMo if he wants to do a collaboration, because now that he's got a writing group going, I thought it would be really cool to do a collab with the library. In which
Could this be
case,
at the library.
yeah, I mean, I think it would be better to do it in the Flora room if we can, but I will ask him how he feels about that and let you know next meeting.
Okay.
But I will plan on leading it or working something out with him if he wants to co-lead.
Okay. Yeah. And, yeah, so we just, when you figure that out, when you give us a date or something. So
Yeah.
so that we can start promoting it.
What is it usually, the second Thursday, third Thursday?
Yeah, but I don't know that really matters now that we're only doing it a couple times a year. I don't know if we need to stick to
Well,
the
don't
second-
throw it up in the air, Jesse,
Thursday.
and then that's all 31
The second
days.
Thursday is the 10th.
Okay, let's pencil in the 10th and then I can change it if it doesn't work.
So
So that's a good
10-10?
starting place.
10 sounds great.
Okay, and then
Starting bid.
at our, if we figure out that, if we figure out the date for it in September, I can whip something up on Canva as
That
like a
sounds great.
flyer.
Anything with the typewriter, and it will be a writing workshop, and I don't know, book pages, any of those
Bookkeeping.
things. Yep, you can go ahead and just pencil it in and leave a spot for the
Okay.
date.
Yeah, I probably will just do that this summer because I'm
Yeah.
not doing anything in September
Cool,
because it's school.
great.
Okay, so I'll do that and we'll
Thanks.
just, we can change the date or whatever.
Mhm.
I'll send it to you and chat it out.
Cool.
And then in other business, I just wanted to briefly let you guys know about something that I was invited to and went to. It's a meeting I failed to get to today because we spontaneously went to the zoo and I didn't think I had anything on my calendar. So, Bettina Bowles, who's the social worker for the school district, awesome, good friend of mine. She is trying to get this started. I don't know if it has a more official name, but she talked about it being a grief and gratitude project. Really sort of recognizing that our community has dealt with a lot of loss and continues to deal with a lot of loss in the form of car crashes and wildfires and just COVID, like all of this stuff. She said something like 20 kids in the district had lost a parent or sibling in the last like year. I mean, it's a lot. And then also talking about just the negativity in our community and how we just need to make like a real concerted effort to focus on the positive. There's all those studies that prove about like the power of gratitude and what it can do for people. So she reached out to Megan from Orchid Health, to Emily, who does the Estacada Health Creation Network, to me, to the library, to you, to several other people. Todos Juntos was there at the last meeting just to talk about like what we could do as some sort of like group project around that. It was sort of just a brainstorming session in the moment because I was like, I don't know what the Arts Commission can do, but it might look like something that we might get involved with if we do like a 1% for art at Wade Creek, doing something like if we did something like a bronze tree that people could turn into like a gratitude tree where you'd put notes of like things you're thankful for or positivity, things like that. There's lots of conversations happening. I specifically was like, I would love to be an idea person, but I'm not going to commit the Arts Commission to doing anything. I'm unclear what we as a group could do about it.
So
Um,
if there is an art project involved, this does fall under the National Endowment for the Arts research agenda for the current period, where they're sponsoring public health projects through
Ooh,
the arts.
that's so. good to
Because
know.
when we're talking about mental health and getting Orchid Health together, you know, I mean, that's a little bit bigger scale potentially, but I could talk to some of my friends who work as evaluators for the NEA projects occasionally, because then you want like a research component
Right,
to really have that piece. But
interesting.
that's I would be interested in sitting on if that's
Okay,
a subcommittee.
yeah. It's really, at this point, it's just a meeting I was
Okay.
invited to, but if you wanted to join the meeting just to hear more about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
I would love to include you in that. And part of it is also like we talked about doing, and Orchid Health / the Estacada Health Creation Network has talked about them having the capacity to maybe admin it, doing like a Facebook group for, that's literally like gratitude in Estacada, where it is like, no BS, nothing else is tolerated, but like positivity and gratitude. And you just go there, kind of like the Craigslist misconnections. Like, oh, you know, like somebody let me go by and I really appreciated it. Like little things where you could just go and share that. And then that could be shared to the Estacada Locals page or something like that, where it would just be like positivity. Cause we focus so much on like, oh, this happened and I'm so grumpy about it. There's not a lot of place to put your positivity.
Have you guys
So I
seen
saw
those?
you come up. I just wanted to share that
Oh.
piece that I think that the Health Creation Network might be up for adminning it. So it's just a conversation in the works.
Yeah. Just wanted to offer.
Is this working? Yeah.
There you go.
I just wanted to offer one other resource. I don't know if any of you went to, there was an art exhibit in Ant Farm in Sandy in April, which was on a very similar topic. I think it was, I just pulled up the article about it, Grief Made Visible. And I can forward the article link here, and I can also put people in touch with Ant Farm, but it seems like there's a no surprise, a general theme, because there's a general need for that within this community, because there's real loss and real devastation. It looks like that was sort of coordinated with the director of bereavement services at Mount Hood Hospice, Laura Lorette. I don't know who the art point person was for that, if that was her. But that's another example, like
Very
very
cool.
local. And so I'm, just.
Well,
wanted to
Bettina,
put-
she's worked with in all the schools and it's a lot of having this wonderful community, but a community that also has a real struggle in reaching out for mental health support. And that definitely trickles down to the younger generation as well. So there's lots of talk about like, I don't know if you guys have heard of, I think it's called Post Secret. There's this guy that was like sending out all these postcards where you have to, his criteria where you have to write something on this postcard that's a secret that you've never told anyone. And then he would post them online and he made books of them of people's secrets. So it's a little bit of like a, she had that idea too, is like these drop boxes where people could write like, I'm really missing my friend who died. And then just like putting that somewhere and just like the power of being able to put that somewhere, even if it's not, official, it doesn't have your name on it. It doesn't have this and that. So this is like a very smushy thing that's just in the works and people are talking about it. And I've just been part of the conversation. I don't know where we fit in, if we fit in, how we fit in. And I'm happy to be that person that has the door open. Maybe you can sit in on a conversation. It's a cool conversation. I think it'd be really meaningful to our community if we could get something like that together. And it'd be a really cool thing for us to be a part of if we could have a little.
I think there's a
piece.
lot of funding available for this as well. I mean, not just the National Endowment for the Arts, although we checked 2 boxes, the public health and the rural box. But also National Institute of Health is really interested in this kind of stuff. The Oregon Humanities, the Oregon Cultural Trust, potentially Ford Foundation. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of funder support for
Well,
this
that's-
type of project, and
That conversation came up. For sure.
research around these projects too, because people want to know not just art is not just had the art project happen, but also had the research behind it to
Right.
show the effect that it's having on the community.
Right.
We spoke also at one point of, a lot of what we do are events, exposing people to art, educating them, participating. But we also can sponsor current artists, be in visual, dramatic arts, music, poetry. And they have a way of bridging the gap to what is unvoiced, to have it become voiced through dance, through interpretation, through dramatic presentations, one act plays or whatever. And it's something where we could open up a venue to give them a platform. And then we would have the funding to back that up through these organizations. But I think something like this goes beyond the two-dimensional, even three-dimensional art. You
Oh,
go
for
into
sure.
the emotional part, which is now bringing into the acting and the dance and the music. And there's so many people who specialize that. But another area that, you know, it's not only dealing with grief, but then being preemptive. And I've had people or one person express an interest of what are we doing as a community to be preemptive for those people who are hurting, to help set a more positive direction, or at least a place to give them voice to be heard before we get into the disaster mode.
Well, I think this is where she was coming from, was sort of this place where we have these thoughts and ideas, and then we have our community. And we have to find a place where we can invite people into this. And maybe that's anonymously, maybe that's putting a piece of paper in a slot, and then we display those on a board that everyone can read. I don't think that most of our community they're not gonna show up for like a improv to help them deal with their emotions, you know, like we want to get them to this place where we could go there.
Yeah.
But from her place, it's just sort of this like, I want to take a step in that direction. We need like a nudge where we can open this door, and it needs to be something that's really accessible and really doable for them. And a lot of that might be anonymously, which is sort of where she was sort of trying to get into this. If you're interested, look up Post Secret. It's very fascinating. You're not used. It's amazing. I mean, it's pretty cool. So anyway, I don't want to take up too much of our time with that, because I know, just know that's in the conversations. If you guys want to be part of the conversation, I'll continue to sort of report back and sort of see where the conversation goes.
Please connect me.
Yes, you sound like you have lots of know-how, and a lot of the conversations have been around funding. So,
Yeah, I think that's where I can really help.
yes, I will.
And connecting them with partners that can
help them.
get the funding. I mean, people who have a track record.
Yeah.
I mean, it may make for a bigger project, but I mean,
But like a big project would be great.
yeah.
And this is coming from like, we could be on the sidelines, because this is like someone whose job this is, you know, who's getting paid to do this.
Well,
We can be helping.
Some of these funding mechanisms, they have requirements like you have to have a government partner, which us just signing a piece of paper makes them, you know, applicable to eligible. That's the
Cool.
word that I'm trying
Eligible,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll loop you into the conversation
Cool,
for sure.
great.
And I'll share with you, there's like a Google Doc,
Mhm.
where they're sort of brainstorming, and I've added stuff, but I haven't looked at what they did today. There was one meeting, like 2 weeks ago, and then another meeting today. We'll just keep talking about it, and I'll loop you in for sure. I think it's really cool. It'd be really neat to be a part of that. And I personally love the idea of being part of something, that it's not our project, that it's something we can like contribute to and be a piece of, but it's not something that is based on our bandwidth, which we all know can be limited sometimes. So just wanted to report back to you guys about that. Sweet. In an effort in previous meetings, we talked about trying to be better about our community updates and arts opportunities. So in that spirit, I'm trying to sort of poke things Alex's way, like putting the gathering for Clackamas County Arts Alliance, sharing events like that on our local Facebook page. So please, like, let's keep in the loop about that. Alex is happy to repost those things as long as they fit our parameters. And then I'm just going to try to get ahead of it. I get the digest from you guys and from a couple other things that obviously my email account, or not my email, the Arts Commission email like receives. And so I'm going to try on our meeting agendas to put those community updates in the agenda, because we kind of say those things in our meetings and then they disappear into the minutes where they live nowhere. So, you know, if someone wants to look at our agenda, then they immediately see, here are the arts opportunities. So we can add to them in our meetings, but I'm going to try to have them pre-typed up, just really basic things. In the summer, it's really easy because, you know, there's like festivals and this, and we'll always put Spiral Gallery on there. But if you have anything like that that comes up before the meeting, if anybody wants to just add that to the agenda, just let me know. I just think that will help in the spirit of that, instead of us having to like think of it on the spot during the meeting. So on that note, there's the Spiral Gallery, has got the local scene. There's a Happy Valley call for art proposal. They're looking for an art proposal for a sculpture for a roundabout. We have the gathering happening pretty soon here. Oregon City Festival of the Arts is this weekend, 2 days. And then that was my note at the bottom. How do we spread this? I don't want to be in charge of like doing a digest, but it could be even after our meeting that we have a quick blurb and it notes those things that go onto the Facebook page. Just as what we've talked about as trying to promote more.
The Oregon Humanities is another, it's tangential somewhat, but we used to do like the communities, or what's it called? The Conversation Project. We'd have those conversations here. Anyway, they're doing a Dear Strangers letters again. So you can find information about that on the Oregon Humanities website, and then essentially I don't know if you send all the letters to the Oregon Humanities, but the letters are due like end of October, and then
Can
they
you say
send them
more
out.
about what's that, Dear Strangers?
Let me look at my phone because I got it earlier today. Let's see. Connecting through letters. Each round of Dear Stranger brings in a mix of repeat participants and new letter writer. Okay. Participants interact with each prompt.
Like you write a letter to a stranger kind of thing?
Yes. Let's see. Dear Stranger, Oregon Humanities Letter Exchange Project turns 10 this year. I guess they've been around for 10 years. Okay, that doesn't give a lot of information either. But the way I understand it is you write a letter to a stranger, and I don't know if they all get posted somewhere or if they get mailed out to people, but it's a kind of what you're talking about, post secret, except
That's
not
cool.
it's just
Yeah.
like a letter to a stranger. So that is through their it's on their website. Well, we've done other things with Oregon Humanities in the past, and they're a good one to also kind of monitor what's going on, because
Cool.
they have stuff like that.
Cool. And maybe that could be, what was it, like a couple months ago, I sent out like a little newsletter like thing from us. Maybe it should be something like that. That's like just an email that goes out to people that have said they want to be contacted about art opportunities. Maybe it could just be part of that. I think I did. That's another thing I did one time and then didn't continue to. This is a really great idea at the time, but there's a lot of moving pieces.
Maintenance.
It is a maintenance thing. Well, then it's like you do it once because you had time to do it that one time, and then you don't, and then there's life, which is a lot. So I don't know. I think that I think maybe we could add that to our agenda on the planning meeting. Is just a piece about communication, like how and when we can communicate.
Also, another idea that I maybe have mentioned before is we used to have more formal like liaisons to community organizations. So like Deborah, if there's events going on at the library that are arts focused, you might bring those, or like somebody checking in with the schools regularly and just saying, hey, this month they're doing the plays and stuff. Jerry used to do that for us when his kids were still in the school district. The old guard, I guess, had representatives from a lot of those organizations, Art Back and Spiral Gallery and everything. So I think it would take a little bit more coordination and assignment to say, you talk to so-and-so before the meeting every month and just see if they have something going on. But it would be something worth revisiting, I think, to just make sure that we keep that thread open since we
Excellent.
are all,
Yeah, I'll add that to the agenda for our planning meeting.
Yeah,
These are some of these like bigger conversations that are important to
If we're
have.
talking about things for the planning meeting, I ran across an idea for a different kind of book club a few weeks ago, where a community library has people meet once a month. They don't have an assigned book. Everybody comes in and says, here's what I'm reading now,
I like
and
that.
here's what I think about it. And that struck me as something that might be worth trying, that I'd be interested in being involved in. So I don't know exactly how to set that up, but it just seemed like I've seen too many, and the woman who was organizing it said, that way we can all talk about a book and we don't have to buy a book and we don't have to sit around and drink wine afterwards. Since nobody's read it.
There are some
Um,
good book clubs happening in the
mhm.
library now.
Yeah,
too.
but-
But they're more about the specific book.
Yeah, but that one just struck me as a way to get a good reading list going and I
Cool
think
idea.
if you met a few times and had a core group, people would start reading some of the same books and you could get sort of little feedback from time to time, which would be nice, but
Book clubs are interesting, like the ebb and flow.
yeah.
And what's chosen and what the
Mhm.
shtick is with it. I've been part of several.
Like that idea, we're starting one at work and we can't agree on a book, and so that's a
Yes,
really
read
nice
whatever book you
solution.
want,
Well,
and then just report back.
I
and then
just
you
thought
leave
it was a
with
novel
solutions.
idea and it
I love it.
encourages you to read and it gives you a little audience for talking about what you're reading. And
Well,
might
then
have-
you get lots of good ideas
yeah,
about books to
that-
read too.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
You could talk to Zach at the library about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. On that note, I had to look up when our meeting is gonna be. So twice a year, we do a longer planning meeting. So it's like big picture conversations. It's on a Saturday. So it's on that agenda. So just for everyone, let's put it on our own calendars on October 5th. I will try to have an outline of an agenda for our September meeting, and then you guys can let me know what we need to add. There's a lot of big conversations that are coming up. We have to make sure we use that time efficiently. So we need to pick and choose what we talk about at that meeting. Already, I'm like, we have way more than 4 hours of
We
things
have
to talk about.
Two big projects that I'm aware of. One is the percentage for art for this nice new street we have out here. And the other is I'm hoping we can come back to the
Well, the
poetry in public places.
The poetry is, I think that's the most important thing on our agenda, I think. At least in my mind, that's
Yeah.
something that we've said, we're like, we really want to make
Mhm.
action on that. So I think that's high on the list. I think there's a lot of stuff coming up about next year that we won't necessarily be able to do in isolation. I feel like those are kind of like the 125 year, 120. That those conversations might be something that happen in subcommittees with other people that are doing all of those things and won't necessarily take our entire commission to talk about when we're not sure what the outline of that will look like. So just thoughts about that. I'll kind of do an outline and you guys give me some feedback. I'll try to do that at next meeting so that for our meeting in October, we've all talked about it already and we kind of know what we're
Yeah.
talking about, what we're not talking about.
Yeah.
Because like ideas like this logo stuff coming at us, I'm like,
Is it a terrible suggestion to extend the time on that meeting for the 5th? And
Yes,
okay.
because I actually will be leaving at 1.
I was thinking starting earlier.
starting,
I'd be happy to start it.
you want to do 9 to 1 instead of 10 to 2?
I mean,
I
9
work much better in the morning. Earlier is better for me, so. Do you guys have, anyone here have strong feelings about that?
I can work my 9.
Yeah? Okay, 9, so we'll change that from 9 to 1.
I was proposing 9 to 3, but not take 9 to 1.
I
I'm
think-
cool with it.
I think we could say 9 to 1 and maybe 2 if we feel like we
Yeah.
have an extensive amount of work to do still.
Right.
I also think I'm a firm believer if part of like getting the agenda out early and really having the outline and having those conversations before the meeting. Because we all get so excited about all these different projects, it's really easy to go down rabbit holes. So I'm a firm believer if we like stick to an agenda and we actually like do it, then we should be able to use our time pretty efficiently. So I hate being the time.
But if
master.
someone has to leave at 1, then we have somebody we can assign all the tasks to.
Yeah, right? We have until 1 o'clock.
I have the timer going.
Yeah.
You have 15 seconds. You better be quick.
Yeah. And go. So yeah. And I do think the one thing that was in my mind earlier, Bev, is something that you and I talked about. At Arts at the Creek, I think that we could talk about briefly at the meeting was talking about doing like a featured artist on our Facebook page, like once a month.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And just like a local artist, like, hey, here's this person. Like there's this really amazing artist, Brooklyn, who was at Arts at the Creek.
Mhm.
And she's like making and selling all these beautiful stickers of like local area stuff. And I saw it and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is the kind of stuff that we should be promoting. So we should be able to like pick an artist and say, you know, and it's a Facebook thing, right? So a blurb, like a paragraph, like here's this person, here's some images of their art or their work, and this is how you could track them down to support them. So we talked about that, especially with some of the youth artists and sort of these like up and coming people that don't necessarily have a platform to be able to do something like that. So we really just want to get, like we've talked about, not just like we're planning all these events, but getting into promoting, like promotion and connection.
I think that
Sort
should
of
be
like-
at least half of our
I think
job
s-
is promoting artists.
Well, and this is like, we're
Mhm.
finally, there was so much turnover in our commission. We finally have like sort of a core group that's been here for a bigger chunk of time, that we carried out someone else's agenda last year. And this agenda was a little closer to where we want to be. And then next year we can kind of shift it as we go and really make, make.
I like
do
the
of it.
strategic plan draft too.
And we'll make sure, I'm wondering if we can, maybe at our next meeting, have Alex print some more copies of those, so we all have them available, because I think that should be homework for our planning meeting, is just to read through it. And
And I
I'm not
think
sure
every-
everybody has actual copies of it, or if they've disappeared since you gave them to us
Yeah.
last.
It's just an example. It's
Yeah,
meant to be,
just to
you're,
get our head-
yes, just to start, and you're supposed to rip it apart. So there's nothing sacred about it other than
Yeah.
it started.
But just, we
Excuse
were
me.
given it so long ago,
Mhm.
it'd be good to have a couple copies, so that we make sure everybody has it in
Yes.
their hands to read for October.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that idea, especially of focusing on things so that we can be more intentional about like, it is in our mission to promote youth artists in particular, or
Or
Uh,
senior
or
artists, or
senior
it
artists
doesn't
or
matter.
people in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just
Or to
having it
share community
documented.
events, or
Yeah,
just to be,
yeah.
and then say, this is the point. We made some goals and those goals are great, but we need to sort of dissect it. Like in this goal, these are the steps we're gonna take that support this.
Mhm,
In this goal, these are the steps we're gonna take, and just be a little bit more.
And that can help us prioritize as things pop up too, because there's a lot of fly-in requests from us and we want to be
There's so many.
responsive to everything, but we also want to keep
Well, we
a
also need
focus
to
in
just,
mind. Yeah.
it needs to be less of a, people are coming at us with ideas and we pick what we can and can't do. Instead saying like, this is what we are doing.
Mhm.
And we appreciate your idea, but we're not logo creators. We're not like, we can't create whole things. Just,
But
we
we
need to
can
be able to say,
network
yeah,
and
we can
and-
network.
Yeah.
we can do this for you because this is part of our plan.
Right, exactly.
So
When I attended the National Endowment for the Arts, where they were talking about the funding and all of that, the cities that did presentations that really hit me hard was a sizable city, and their greatest claim to fame is that they had a platform to promote other artists. And the person said, it's so nice because it's easy for us as a commission. We just give them a venue and we promote them, but they do all the work. And I thought, oh, that just
That's
sounds like
the
a
dream.
great formula.
that's the dream.
You know, we should have a registry of different artists who move in or who are local or within the county to pull on those resources and promote them.
And we've had that request multiple times.
Mhm.
It's really a like, who has the time and the knowledge to build that infrastructure? Because there's
You do, you have that.
that's definitely something that I,
Yes, we can
that'd
use
be great.
that. Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
Get it
We'll look
going.
forward
make
to
it
those
happen.
bigger conversations. Does anyone else have anything to add before we adjourn?
Oh my gosh, I feel like
Isabella, I'm curious, what good ideas do you think you have at this point of what you'd like to see? You have a voice, and we're very interested in hearing what you have to say. Not to put you on the spot.
It's
but-
also okay to say you're processing things.
Yeah,
Come back
that's
to
okay
us.
too.
That's a lot to hear in the meeting.
Processing things.
Okay.
Really.
Good.
I think your guys' ideas were good.
We're really happy you're here.
Yeah, super excited you're here. I think it's when you first join, like sitting and listening and hearing to all these hearing all the conversations we're having. You're here at an important time where we're shifting a lot of things. So
Oh, so I think it would be good at the planning meeting also, especially if you're able to attend, Isabella, is just like doing a brief refresher of like, I mean, I know we had the city commission 101, but like not necessarily Robert's Rules of Orders. We don't really follow that, but just generally like when we make a motion and when we vote and kind of the more formal things, just
Well, I would
5
love a
minutes.
refresher on that.
Yeah.
Apparently I have no
Yeah.
idea what I'm doing.
Just,
Just bang the
you know,
gavel.
so we all feel empowered to speak when it's time to speak and
Yeah.
and like know how it works, because
And I do think like in an effort to not be the person who's always talking, because I often am, I think I might literally bring some sort of like those painful icebreakery things where like you go around and everyone has like 1 minute and nobody interrupts them and everyone gets a chance to speak. I might pull some stuff like that out. Because I think it's important we hear from everyone. And I know like I talk a lot, so I want to hear from everybody too. So we'll see. Okay. So I guess that's the part where I bang the gavel. Are we good? We'll see you guys. Our next meeting, I just tucked my thing away, is September 4th. And it looks like it'll probably be a brief one because we'll be thinking about the next thing. So, all right. So I call this meeting to order at 7:43.